Well, we've already been chatting here for about an hour, so we figured we should hit record and start episode 87. You're going to be talking about Queen, the music group.
Yes.
And I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite books in the Bible, Joshua.
Of course.
Yeah.
One of my favorite book, too.
Yep. All right, cool. Episode 87, Queen, Joshua.
So we were talking about maybe doing a Patreon page where we record the hour before we come on, because we would have plenty of content. However,
We'd get in so much trouble.
the content would have to be in a different genre, a totally different page, that would be less appropriate than what we talk about here.
Three dudes talking. That's going to be the name of that podcast.
Man, oh man, I'm telling you now. Innocently, we were talking about old sitcoms.
Mm-hmm.
Andy Griffith,
Yep.
Barbara Eden, and
I Dream of Jeannie.
I Dream of Jeannie.
Bewitched.
Carol Burnett.
Yeah. Gilligan's
Somehow,
Island.
What's that?
Gilligan's Island.
Gilligan's Island. Somehow, three guys sitting around can take that topic and make it PG-13.
Right.
How can you take those things and make them PG-13? I'm not exactly sure how, but
Yeah.
we're able to do that. That's a gift that we have. So, episode 87, wow, Queen. I don't think that I could have intentionally picked a band that is on the opposite end of the spectrum as Grateful Dead. I couldn't have done that intentionally, and I just kind of picked Queen because Queen is in the queue, and I just kind of picked them. But man, they are exact opposite, except for one thing.
Okay.
The live performances. They were both known for their live performances. That's really the only similarity that I can come up with.
Now, did you used to listen to Queen when you were younger?
I listened to Queen that was on the radio.
Okay.
It's a really good question. I'd never had a Queen album.
You never sought out their music?
I never sought out their music, but I liked everything that I heard that was popular because it was a little different. And I never really analyzed until this week why I liked it. Donna and I have been talking about Queen since we've seen, I think it's called Bohemian Rhapsody, the movie, because the actor in there, can y'all come up with his name? The actor in Bohemian Rhapsody that did Queen?
Nope.
Man, he is such a great actor. He's a new actor. We call him new. He's probably been around for a long time, but he's just broken out in the last 5 years. Man, this guy is so good. And he did Freddie Mercury very well. So we like that movie. So we since then, we think we saw that movie about 6, 7, 8 months ago.
Rami Malek.
There you go, Rami Malek.
Yeah.
Look him up. Very, very good actor. He reminds me of the old-timey actors that whenever people would get into character by living the life of the person that they're going to be characterizing in a movie. And I said that to Donna before I heard him say that. He said it himself on an interview. He said he likes to immerse himself in the environment that he thinks that, and do the research and live that way. And man, he did Freddie Mercury really good job. So anyway, since then, I've been thinking about Queen. Still not doing a lot of research on them, but this week I did. These are the two main, 2 out of 3 main research items. So this you can get at Walmart. It's Queen Greatest Hits 1, 2, and 3. That's all this is. I've listened to almost all of it. This is a book that I'm reading called Somebody to Love, Freddie Mercury. And I've got an audio book also that I'm listening to. Now, the book has a lot more about the history of AIDS and the history of gay and lesbian internationally than I was interested in reading about. There's chapters dedicated to those topics, and it's you can look at it like history. They talk about was it Patient Zero, who was thought to bring AIDS over to the United States, where AIDS started, and evidently enough research has been done to where they can pinpoint the village and the monkey and all this stuff, and how it started, how AIDS started, and how it progressed and where it progressed, which is interesting, but that's not the research that I was looking for.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Not really music research.
No, it wasn't. It's good to know, but I kind of it's not what I was looking for. And the book is doing the same thing with homosexuality in internationally. How in the 60s and 70s it was, in some countries it was illegal. You know, to
have that lifestyle.
To have that lifestyle, even privately, you could be put into jail, and how
some countries it still is.
Some countries still is, and how it's changed to today. You know, now I haven't read the whole thing yet. This is why this is going to be part 1 of maybe 2 of Queen, not because of my affection for them necessarily, but because there's so much that I can read and watch. There's just a lot of resources that you can go through with Queen. And before we started recording, I talked about how I could not have intentionally picked a band that is polar opposite than the Grateful Dead, other than their live performances. Both the Grateful Dead and Queen were known for their live performances. And the CDs that I'm listening to has a couple of cuts, live cuts, and I'll tell you, they sound great in concert. His voice needs no tuning. His voice is extraordinary, and it just cuts through. You know what I mean? As a main instrument, it cuts through anything, and you have to have that in order to sound good in concert. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In order to be able, I mean, like Elvis Presley did the same thing. His voice was so strong and so unique. He could have an entire orchestra behind him, just the most powerful orchestra, and his voice was still the main instrument.
Yeah.
Not every person can do that. Freddie Mercury certainly could. He certainly could do that. Speaking of orchestras, that's one of the unique things about Queen is that it sounds like an orchestra. The music sounds like an orchestra because of the harmonies, and it sounds like an orchestra with a rock guitar.
Okay.
The guitarist says a great guitar.
A rock opera?
Yes, it sounds like a rock opera. It certainly does. Everything that they do sounds like that. The Bohemian Rhapsody intentionally was created to sound like a rock opera. And that's one of the unique things about Queen. And it makes sense. His influences and the band's influences, it's very intentional that they sound that way. The way he grew up, he grew up in, what was his name? Barack something.
Obama?
Nope, it wasn't. I do have some notes because I really honestly didn't know anything about Queen, and I don't have any personal experience going to their concerts or anything, so I can't really share that.
You know, my first introduction to Queen
What was it?
was watching a movie called Wayne's World.
Good movie, by the way. Very good movie. What was the song in there? It was Bohemian Rhapsody.
Bohemian
wasn't
Rhapsody,
it?
yeah.
That's what I thought.
Which, so oddly enough, like Bohemian Rhapsody is one of the most famous songs ever.
Yep.
I've never really cared for that song just because of like it makes no sense. It's kind of chaotic. It switches moods several times through the song. Goes way longer than I need to. I know it's a great, it's considered one of the greatest, rock hits of all time. But and it's like, it's funny because my wife and daughter and I, we have all these jokes around the song Bohemian Rhapsody.
Oh, is that right?
That we'll pull out from time to time, but it's not it's not a song that we like. It's funny,
Okay.
Like just last night, I forget how the conversation came up, but we were eating dinner at a pizza restaurant, and some part of the conversation lent itself to some quote from Bohemian Rhapsody, and that was
funny.
A funny joke in the conversation. But yeah, I mean, my musical background. I didn't grow up listening to all the rock stuff.
Right.
I was kind of introduced to it later on in life.
Yep.
But Queen, like you were saying, one of the things that I really liked about them was their harmonies.
Yeah, they're strong harmonies, no doubt.
When their songs do come on, and I don't want to say subjected to them, but I'm in an environment where Queen is playing.
Yes.
That's one thing that I
like
always
all the
noticed.
discos in town that you go to,
Right?
Yeah.
But he had a good voice, but even Brian May, because he was part of the harmony of it. Like their voices really worked well together.
They did.
He was a good soloist. I don't know if the other guys were, but however it was, their voices found each other, and it was really cool.
It was funny. By the way, his name, he was born Farrak Balsara in Zanzibar, present-day Tanzania. And he didn't want to be Indian. He wanted to be known as Persian because he felt Persian sounded more exotic. So he changed his name to...
And who is this?
Freddie Mercury.
Freddie Mercury was...
Sorry, Freddie Mercury.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yep. Freddie Mercury was Farrak Balsara, Bulsara in Tanzibar.
I didn't know that wasn't his original name.
Yeah, yep. He changed it several times. He changed his, I think he's changed his last name first. No, his first name, and then he changed his last name totally. Yeah. But it's funny what you said. The reason that you didn't necessarily have an affection for Queen is the exact reason that the record company said, no way, this song, Bohemian Rhapsody, will never chart. It will never do. First of all, it's maybe 3 times longer than a normal song.
Right.
And it jumps all over the place. It doesn't make any sense. Everything you said is exactly why the record people didn't want to put it out.
But honestly, that's probably why it's so popular, because it was so different from everything else that it stuck out in people's mind. I wonder if people like intentionally liked it or liked it because it stuck out in their mind.
I don't think Queen cares.
Oh, absolutely
you know what
not.
I mean?
Yeah. If the money's rolling in, I don't care.
The money's rolling in. I hear what you're saying, and everything that you're saying is true. But it's the reason that I like it.
Yeah, it's almost like it's 5 songs that were put together, and individually, I would probably like all 5 of the songs.
Right, sure.
But mashing them together, it just to me it was
totally different.
Yeah.
One of the things that I learned to like about Queen, and respect, I think is a better way of putting it about Queen, is that there's several times. One of them was with this song. They stuck to their guns, and they said, no, we're not going to cut it down, because if we cut that song down, it takes away from the totality of the song that was intended.
Right. And
they went head to head, toe to toe with the record companies and the people that are giving them money to do this. We're not going to put it out at all, or we're going to put it out the way that it was recorded. Yeah. And it took them a long time for them to say, okay, all right, we're going to do it. But they stuck together as a band, which I really appreciated.
Yep.
Appreciated that a lot.
I remember as a kid, early teens, I used to take drum lessons, and eventually ended up playing in my church worship group, and a couple other different things. But learning drums, one of the funnest songs to play was "We Will Rock You."
Oh, sure. Well, you're starting off boom, boom.
Yeah, because
right?
it's just total drum stuff. I didn't know that was a Queen song until years later. I just knew there was this song called "We Will Rock You."
Okay.
That's a really cool drum song.
Yeah. All of the musicians, except for Freddie Mercury, had degrees that they could fall back on, which was interesting. I mean, good degrees too. Science, and the other, I can't remember what the other one was, but there were hardcore degrees where they could make a living.
Yeah.
Even the drummer, I thought about that whenever you said that, because drummers are kind of thought to be the lowest IQ of bands many times. It's not true.
Right.
But sometimes the bassist and the drummer are thought to be that way.
When I was a kid, I remember playing outside with the neighborhood kids, and whenever we'd play a game and there was a winner or whatever, very often "We Are the Champions" would come out.
Oh yeah.
And here again, I don't think any of us knew where that song came from. We just knew probably from watching sports or something on I almost said online on TV and hearing "We Are the Champions." That just became part of our street vocabulary. Is if we beat you in something, we are the champions.
So think about that. Think about how much that song has to have been permeated in culture for kids on a playground to not even know who Queen is, but it to be the first thing that comes to their mind whenever they've won an event. That's
they have a lot of
crazy
songs
popular.
like that, though. I mean, another one, "Bites the Dust." I Want to Break Free. These were all songs that, I knew parts of those songs growing up, but I didn't know the people who did them.
Right. There's about 12 songs. There's about 12 songs that everybody would know. Everybody in part 2, I'll talk about those songs.
Under Pressure.
Yep.
One of my favorites of all time.
With David Bowie.
Yep.
They did a duet with him also.
Yep.
And if I had to talk about somebody who was similar, it would be David Bowie in many ways. David Bowie and Queen were very, very similar.
Did you ever know about the I guess the legal battle between Queen and Vanilla Ice? Yeah.
Yeah. That was the silliest thing.
It is, and it just shows how silly all these legal things are, because they had the same dum 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 at the beginning of it, but the solution to it, Vanilla Ice just added one more note.
Dum dum.
Yeah, dum 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 dum.
Yep,
yeah,
that was it.
And that was the solution. Okay, it's all good now. I'm like, seriously, that's
it. Man.
That's but
That's
I think later he
crazy.
ended up buying the rights to "We Are the Champions" anyway. So
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Under Pressure.
So, what's unique about their sound or career? So, rock, opera, pop, gospel, like harmonies. That's throughout the songs. Again, I say throughout, from the 3 CDs, and there's 16 songs on each CD. Even in a typical song, the background sounds like a gospel harmony, So just their sounds together, the voices, like you said, melt together so well, and that's the way they wanted it to sound.
Yeah.
Freddie Mercury ended up having a lot of influence in the band, and those of us that listen and just learned Queen as they got popular, we would think, well, of course he did. He was a lead singer. That wasn't the way it always was. He joined the band after they had several iterations, and he was in other bands. And he always was a little bit insecure about giving influence to a band because he felt that everybody was smarter than he was. But everybody ended up trusting him. He ended up trusting the other band members, and it was more of he gained control over that, and they were fine with it. They were fine with it. He was a little insecure because he didn't have a degree. You know what I mean? He was an artist. He had a degree. In the UK, it's different than it is here. They have SS degree, zeros and A's or something or another. I don't know, but it's not a university degree. I guess if we had to equate it, it's probably a 2-year degree, associate's degree, and a bachelor's and master's and doctors. Probably the same thing, just to call it different things. And he may have had an associate's degree. Everybody else had like either a doctorate or a master's. So he was insecure about that. But personality-wise, he was a guy, he couldn't walk in anywhere and people not go, look at that guy. Even before.
Well, he was Persian, so.
That's right. He was
very exotic.
He was an exotic guy. He was an interesting contradiction, in my words, in that another contrast to the Grateful Dead. Grateful Dead became famous because they were great at what they did. It was a byproduct of what they would be doing for free anyway. At least Freddie Mercury, in his mind, in his words, was born to be famous. He grew up in an environment where he was either going to be an opera singer, he was going to be somewhere where he was the front man. He always wanted that. He desired that, and he put everything he did was to get him farther in that goal, which is it's a crazy goal if you think about it, to be famous. I don't think anybody in this room would take $50,000 if you had to be famous. You know what I mean? I don't think any of us would do that.
No, and it's funny too because like you kind of look at the world around you today, and like there's this huge push for people to be like influencers or whatever.
Right.
And it's funny because like when you even people I wouldn't expect this, like friends on Facebook or whatever, when you look at their profiles, the description of what they do, it's like digital content creator, influencer, something like that. And it's like there used to be this thing like kids always wanted to be famous. And now it's like kids always want to be influencers or YouTube or whatever. And it used to be like, I want to be famous because, money, influence, whatever kind of thing like that. But it seems more narcissistic now. I just like the influencers. You go into influencing and, your goal on social media is just like, how many followers can I get?
Right.
And it seems like it's less about financial gain. It's more about, I just want everybody's attention on me. And I've never wanted that.
No, I know.
It's
such a different personality type.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I'm more introverted. I mean, I've taken the personality tests. I'm kind of 50-50 introvert, extrovert, just depending on what the situation requires. I can kind of be either one. But my natural tendency is towards introversion.
Yeah.
And so, like, I don't want to be in the public eye. I just like, I'm the guy that, I loved growing up in the country away from everybody. I would love to live in the country again.
Right. Yeah.
And just kind of have quiet, leave me to my own, interests, that kind of stuff. But no, that like a lot of people today, they just want as many people looking at them as possible.
Right. It's true, and I truly am confident that if Freddie Mercury was alive today, he would be one of the main influencers. I think he would be one that would have 6 million followers, and I think it would be very intentional. Like I said, for whatever reason, he ever since he can remember, he's wanted to be in the public eye.
Yeah.
And I applaud people like that. I applaud that I'm not like that. And, and obviously we are all in this room anyway, attracted to people that aren't like that.
Right.
It's a different personality type. There's no question about it.
Yeah.
No question. I mean, we want to be influencers for Christ. There's no
Right.
doubt about that.
But that's a different world entirely.
Yes,
than
it
I
is.
want to be quote unquote an influencer.
It's not the right. The attention is not on us.
Yeah.
It's pointing people to where they can find salvation and have a better life. I mean, really,
Right.
better life and death. But anyway, musical influencers. I was surprised. Led Zeppelin. How about that? For Queen, Led Zeppelin, and for Freddie Mercury. Freddie Mercury's favorite musician was Jimi Hendrix, and he said, "I want to be just like Jimi Hendrix." Now, that's a strange thing to say, considering where he ended up.
Right.
But what he meant was Jimi Hendrix's charisma. If you've never seen Jimi Hendrix, this is somebody that's in the queue also. Jimi Hendrix died very, very young in his, I think, 23. Jimi Hendrix had charisma just by walking into a room. He didn't try. He didn't. All he wanted to do was play his guitar and sing, and man, did he ever do it!
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, did he ever?
Isn't
do it.
he one of the ones that really made the Fender Stratocaster
Yes,
famous?
yes,
Yeah.
and
He played it left-handed.
He played it
upside
left-handed,
down, yeah.
upside down, and his hands were so big that he used his thumb as a part of playing his guitar. He'd put his thumb over the top of it and play. Queen and Freddie Mercury is nothing like Jimi Hendrix. Now, I love this comparison, but the charisma and the way that Jimi Hendrix carried himself is what was attractive to Freddie Mercury. I thought, man, I can see that.
Yeah.
I can absolutely see that, because it was Jimi Hendrix it was a Jimi Hendrix experience. It was his
Right.
band. You know, everybody else was really good, but you wanted to watch Jimmy sing and play his guitar.
Yeah.
That's what Freddie Mercury wanted for him. Freddie admired Jimi Hendrix, Aretha Franklin, and Liza Minnelli. What a shock. He liked Liza Minnelli.
Yeah.
But think about that mixture. Freddie admired Jimi Hendrix, Aretha Franklin, and Liza Minnelli. That makes total sense, doesn't it? It makes total sense. Roger Taylor admired Led Zeppelin. Roger Taylor was the bass player. Some of the popular songs, let's see. Let me just say this. Queen sold more than 300 million records. 300 million records?
Yeah.
Wow. That's a lot of records. Some of the songs.
population of United States is.
Okay. Some of the songs you were talking about.
340.1 million.
340.1 million.
So that's almost one record for every person
Wow.
in America right now. That's records. That's not like now in the days of digital downloads, how
Yeah.
do you even measure that?
Right,
It's
right.
probably more than that.
Yep.
Just in downloads or plays on Spotify
Oh,
or
absolutely.
iTunes or whatever.
This is records where you went to a record store and you
Yeah.
bought a record album. That's what. And they were $7.50 back in my day. Can you believe that, Chris? $7.50 back in the day. Now I went to a record store a couple weeks ago. Now they're $25, $30.
Did you grow up in the area of 45s?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There was one more. The 45, was it a 66?
45, 33 in the third, and then 78,
78.
was an older.
That's right.
That was it was the same size as a 33, but it was just played faster.
Okay.
See,
Gotcha.
I grew up at the tail end of that.
Okay.
So I still had a record player at
Yeah,
home,
uh-huh.
and I had we had my mom's 45s, which weren't really that old,
Right.
at that point. But I grew up listening to records. And,
Yep.
Yeah.
It's fun. Back in the day, it was, at least for me and my friends, when we listened to music, we came into the room, we sat down, we listened to the music, and it was an experience.
Yeah.
We had that experience together. One person was reading the album while another person was doing something else, and whenever that person got through the album, they shared it. Or if there was, best thing is if there was an album and the sleeve had information on it, one person would have the sleeve they were reading, the other person would have the album. It was a beautiful experience, man. It was.
The two records that I remember getting as a kid that I loved, one was there's this kids group known as Salty the Singing Songbook.
Okay.
PSALTY for Psalm. Psalms.
Oh my gosh.
I think he's even still around. But
I have to do a deep dive on it.
right. And the other one was John Denver and the Muppets.
Oh, I love
which
John
I
Denver.
still love that album to this day.
Oh, John Denver.
I have it bookmarked on my YouTube.
I wouldn't mind doing John Denver deep dive.
Oh, I like John Denver.
Oh man.
Yeah, let's do John Denver sometime.
We will.
Yeah.
We will. Okay, Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah.
We Will Rock You. We Are the Champions. Another One Bites the Dust.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody to Love. Don't Stop Me Now. Thank you.
Yeah.
And
It's almost like he's in the room.
It is. And Under Pressure. Everybody probably knows most, if not all, and there's probably that many again.
Yeah.
That are as famous or a little bit less famous. Are they in the Hall of Fame? Yes. Introduced to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2001. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
A lot of people get in the Hall of Fame, but only the ones. We hear a lot of people getting in the Hall of Fame, but you really have to be the best of the best to get in there. All the ones that you end up hearing are the best of the best.
Well, there's only so much room in the hall.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I mean, all those albums and stuff.
Right.
45s. It's crazy, man. So I'm going to stop in a minute. I'm going to do a part 2. But the thing that's unique about the band we talked about already, the sound, the harmony, and Freddie Mercury himself. I'll talk sociology for a minute, okay? Mm-hmm. So Freddie Mercury, get this now, at age 8 was sent off to boarding school. Think about an 8-year-old. An 8-year-old. It's about that tall, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe that tall?
Yeah.
It's a kid. You wouldn't want an 8-year-old to walk down to the store and get a piece of candy and come back, right? I wouldn't. They sent him off to boarding school by himself with hundreds of other guys, boys. And this boarding school was up to, I think it was all the way to 12th grade. And he stayed there. He was hundreds of miles. It wasn't like they visited every weekend or anything.
Yeah.
He was on his own.
So they just sent him away.
They sent him away. They said it was for his own good, you know what I mean, to be educated. Okay, fine. I'm not a parent, but, that's up to you guys. Now, it doesn't take a sociologist to realize or to think about how somebody's sexuality or emotions, how that would develop, how that could develop whenever you're around hundreds of other boys and men. Because there's no female teachers. This guy had no female influence. He was around guys, and think about all the stuff that your body goes through, the way you change emotionally, spiritually, physically. You're reaching out to the people that you know, perhaps.
Yeah. Well, it also shows the importance of being in a family.
Man, no doubt.
Because there's a balance there that doesn't exist in an all-male boarding school. Because that's one of the things about Freddie Mercury's life is
no balance.
Yeah, there was no balance. It was just extreme, and I'll let you talk about it, but it ultimately destroyed him.
Yeah, it did ultimately destroy him. I'll end with this, and we'll talk more about it next week. He was quoted to say, as an adult, whenever he became an adult and was more comfortable with who he was, he said, I want to do everything with everybody. There's no boundary. He didn't say there's no boundary, but if you're going to say I want to do everything with everybody, there's no boundary, And if you think about how indulgent that is, what must your mind and your emotions be like whenever you're just walking around? You're looking at everybody and you have a desire. And he wasn't one to be shy either when it came to relationships. He was shy, but when it came to his desires, I don't think he was very shy. He was very, very open. Now, the name Queen, I think it was Donna. I'm sorry, Donna, if it wasn't you, but I think it was you. It might have been your sister. I'm not sure. It might have been Hope. I was talking about Queen a long time ago, and I think I said I didn't know he was gay. And they said, if it was Donna or Hope or somebody said, "Hey, Destry, the name Queen didn't give it away." I said, "Well, I guess I should have known." But here's what I learned in the last week. Even the woman that he was living with didn't know he was gay. His best friends didn't know he was gay. His producers, everybody had an idea. I mean, you can look at him and go, he looks like he looks gay. But they didn't know for sure because he never came out and said it until way later.
Yeah.
To way later in his career. So he was married. This lady named Mary. He was totally in love with her. But he was in love with a lot of people. But Mary was his soft place to land.
Yeah.
And she didn't know he was gay. She had an inclination that he was gay, and she found out later. But if you're living with somebody, sharing the bedroom with somebody, and you don't know if he's gay, how can anybody else know if they're gay or not? I think Freddie Mercury liked the idea that he was overtly homosexual, but he never admitted it, and people were asking about it. You know what I mean? He said to reporters whenever somebody asked him about it, he said, "Oh, it's up to you to find out." That's exactly what he would tell reporters.
Well, I mean, if you're the kind of person that likes a lot of attention on you, I think it would you would want to put those like bait type comments out there.
Yeah, he was. Again, I think he would be a great influencer. He would have 600 million followers because of his verbal ability,
or a successful influencer.
A successful influencer, yes. But anyway, and he was a successful influencer.
Well, you mentioned like his statement, "I want to do everything with everybody."
Yeah.
We see a parallel to that in Scripture because there is a point in Solomon's life where he said, "I want to explore everything," and he said, "I have the means to do it." And I forget how he put it in Ecclesiastes. It was something like, "Whatever I wanted to do, whatever I wanted to put my hand towards, I didn't restrict myself." So it's kind of like the same statement.
Yes.
I want to do everything with everybody. And Ecclesiastes is the kind of like his journal of that journey of, he accumulated women. He, lived a lavish life where nothing was withheld because this was the richest man in the world at the time. He had the means to pursue everything, kind of like Freddie Mercury.
Yeah, sounds a lot like him.
Yeah, not the richest person in the world, but still had the means to do whatever he wanted to, and pursued that a lot of times.
Yep.
And at the end of Solomon's journey through that, Ecclesiastes it summarized it. He said, "Everything this world has to offer, it's vanity. It vexes your spirit."
Wow.
And he said the sole duty of man is to fear God and keep his commandments. And, made that distinction. Like this is, if you're pursuing happiness, it doesn't exist in the world. It's a temporary high, but it's nothing lasting.
How about that? Yeah. That's an interesting. That's a good transition. It's very similar. I mean, it's not as uncommon as I would hope it to be. And I look at that statement as being a very sad way to live.
Right.
I mean, it sounds indulgent and narcissistic, and I think it is. But how can you ever be happy that way? If I'm so glad I'm married and I'm not dating. You know what I mean? I walk around town going, man, I'm so glad I'm not. I don't have to deal with that anymore. If you're never there, I'm so thankful that I'm not there. You know, and I'm so thankful that that Donna and I are happy and we have a life together. Gosh, I don't know what I'd do without that. How can somebody that has a desire, like Freddie Mercury said, how can that ever be?
Right.
How can it ever be satiated?
Yeah.
It sounds like, and I don't remember how old he was whenever he died, but it sounds like such a youthful thing to say.
Right.
A very immature thing to say. And these aren't knocks on him. I'm just saying, man, it's such an opposite way of any desire that I have as an adult.
Well, it's hedonism.
Hedonism.
Yeah.
That's right. That's exactly what it is. And I'm thankful that that desire wasn't in my life to change the way that it has turned out.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll talk more next week about Queen. I haven't even finished half the book.
Right.
A lot of the book, I think that I already say that it was a lot about AIDS and homosexuality and all that. Good to know, but not what I was looking for. So I'm hoping in the second part of the book, we'll talk more, I'll learn more about Freddie Mercury and his life, and towards the end of his life, we'll talk about that too.
Okay.
All right?
Cool. Well, I want to break free from talking about Queen for a little bit.
Man, he is so good at that.
See what I did there?
You were so good at the transitions. Break Free is one of the good songs that Queen wrote.
Not really, but I had to throw that transition in there because
so
what you're
good.
talking about, Queen, kind of has to do with what we're talking today about in Scripture, and we've already kind of alluded to it.
Yeah.
Like the end result of hedonism.
Yeah.
Right. Because that's what Solomon basically was pursuing as he chronicled through Ecclesiastes, but the hedonistic culture, because I'm involved in this Bible study group on Tuesday nights, and right now we're going through the book of Joshua. And when you contrast God's people who are led by God, who are trying to follow what God wants them to do, and you contrast that with the land of Canaan at the time, which was a hedonistic culture, there was really nothing between them and pursuing whatever fleshly desire they wanted. You see this huge difference between not just those cultures, but where those cultures end up leading. And one of the let's back up a little bit. This past Sunday at the church we go to, the pastor was talking about Jericho and Israel going into Canaan and that whole process. And he's doing this series on faith and how, when they encountered Jericho, God's the one that fought the battle. Israel had faith. And it's really interesting to see the progression of Israel through the book of Joshua, because having spent 400 years in Egypt, being delivered from slavery, wandering through the wilderness for 40 years, this is the new generation that's crossing the Jordan River going into Canaan. These are ancient civilizations that they're encountering that are fully up and running nations with militaries and battle strategies and weapons and all this stuff. And here it is, this group of people who have none of that, who are coming into Canaan, and they're tasked with conquering this land. And so God reassures them. He's like, I've already given you this land. Because we can go back to Genesis, to that original covenant with Abraham, and God tells him, this land that you're in, I've given it to you and your descendants. You're going to be out of it for 430 years, but you're going to come back in. And he said a really interesting statement there: when the iniquity of the Amorites is full. Amorites being the people that lived in this land. And so they do come back, and you see that these are all societies and nations that have been totally given over to this hedonistic culture. They're guided. They're described as like idolaters. They worship idols. They do pagan practices. Some were doing like human and infant sacrifices. They're any kind of any kind of sexual immorality you can think of existed. It's like if there was a way you could describe them, it's just like any fleshly desire that was available, it was part of the program.
Wow.
In these nations. And so this was the culture that God was trying to get rid of as he was leading his people into this land of Canaan. And so you see them come to Jericho, and the I guess the ratio of what God did versus what the people did was heavily in favor of God, right? He told them, march around, I'm going to make the walls fall.
They didn't have any weapons, right?
Yeah, they did.
No
I
weapons.
mean, no weapons no weapons that were engaged in battle.
Okay.
Because it can be said that as Israel, crossed the Red Sea and started encountering people that attacked them in those wilderness wanderings, that with every battle they won, they accumulated the weapons of the people they defeated. But they didn't have like trained military or anything like that. The generation that left Egypt was the generation that died in the wilderness, and so this was the new generation. So, and they were under the leadership of Joshua, and so they get to Jericho, and like I said, the ratio is heavily favored on God's side. God did all of that fighting for them. He made the walls fall. He defeated the city, and Israel was there. It's funny, the next city that they encountered was a city called Ai. And Israel's attitude towards that was, we just wiped the floor with the people in Jericho. We can take Ai. It's not even as big of a city as Jericho. Which is funny because who did all the work at Jericho? Not Israel.
Yeah.
God did. So to go to Ai and say, we just trashed Jericho. We can do Ai. It didn't work out well for them. Ai ended up absolutely just trashing them and defeating them in battle. And so they go back, tail tucked in between their legs, and they go back to God, and they realize, there's some sin that needs to be addressed. That had they gone to God first instead of saying, we can do this. That would have been made known. They could have, taken care of it. Well, the second time they go to Ai, after learning that lesson, God gives them some instruction. And it's a little bit different than Jericho. It wasn't, we marched around Jericho, I made the walls fall. Let's march around Ai and I'll make the walls fall. It was different. God instructed them in some military strategy. He says, Ai is on this mountain. You go and camp. Half of you go and camp on the next mountain, and the other half of you hide back behind Ai. And so the first group, they'll rush toward Ai, and you'll act like you're attacking them. They're going to come out and attack you, and you turn around and run like you're afraid, like you did the first time. And they'll chase you, and they'll empty their town. And when they're chasing you, the other guys that are hiding behind the next mountain, they come in, set fire to the city, and then you turn around and attack them, and you trap them, and you attack them. And so he's like giving them military strategy. And so here again, the ratio is heavily favored on God's side, but he's starting to prepare Israel to be a nation that can defend itself and can operate in this land as a fully functioning nation. And he's training them with military strategy and stuff like this. And as you go along, like once they leave Ai, once they conquer Ai, they head north, deep into Canaanite territory. To these two mountains, Mount Gerizim and Mount Ebal. And we've talked about this in recent episodes of this podcast. But here again, the nation splits up. Excuse me. The nation splits up half. Half is on Mount Gerizim, half is on Mount Ebal. And in the middle of Canaanite territory, with Canaanite people around them, they start reciting the law to each other. It's called the Mountain of Blessings and the Mountain of Cursings. And they start reciting the law to each other. Everywhere where the law has, if you do this, you'll be cursed. People on I think it was Mount Ebal talk about the curses, and everywhere it says you'll be blessed if you do this. The other mountain, Mount Gerizim, they recite that part. I might be getting the mountain switched, but the idea is the same. And so they're doing this and going through, like, you'll be cursed if you do this, you'll be blessed if you do this. And part of the law is how they act towards the pagan nations of the other people in Canaan, how they're being instructed to drive them out, to utterly destroy them, things like that. But there's also exceptions in the law. It says if a people group wishes to leave their pagan ways and join with us, uniting with us under the God of Abraham and Isaac and Jacob, there's a mechanism for that. And then at the end of this whole thing, they leave 2 huge stones on Mount Ebal that have the law written on them. Here again, deep in Canaanite territory. So they leave and they go back south and continue on their military campaign. They conquered. They kind of cut a line through the middle of Canaan. They conquer the southern parts. They go up north and start conquering the northern parts, and vice versa. And they continue on, kind of like, hollowing out the middle and conquering the whole area. And that's kind of the book of Joshua in a nutshell, or the first half of Joshua in a nutshell. But where this relates to our idea of hedonism is this. Often, secular critics of Scripture often point to God in the Old Testament and say, God was such a mean person who was all about genocide and all about, wipe out everybody and all this kind of stuff. And if God is a God of love, why do you have that sort of personality trait coming through in the Old Testament? He seems more like a God of vengeance or a God of anger. And you have to take Scripture as a whole to understand this. But when you go back to Genesis, prior to the flood, God made this observation that all of humanity, from the time of Adam to the time of the flood, which was about 1,600 years or so, if you do out those genealogies, he said, throughout that millennium and a half, mankind devolved into chaos so much that sin had infected everybody. He said that the thoughts and intents of people's hearts were only evil continually, and sin had taken its hold on the entire human population to the point where God said, I have to destroy everybody. In order to wipe out this cancer, I have to take this really severe action.
It's like pruning a plant.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Here it's like cutting the entire plant off and just starting back with one root.
Okay.
And so that one root was Noah and his family. Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord. He was perfect in his generations. And so after the flood, so Noah and his family go through building the ark, living in the ark for a couple years as the floods came, and then they dissipated all that stuff. They come out and they immediately offer a sacrifice to God, and God makes this covenant, this promise to Noah. He says, "I'm no longer going to destroy the entire earth again, like I just did." And so you take that promise and you carry it forward into the land of Canaan. It was the same sin, the same hedonistic culture that existed in Canaan that was a problem before the flood. The difference is God was operating under this promise that he's no longer going to destroy the entire world again. So how do you prevent the destruction of the entire world when this same hedonistic culture exists? And so you see him addressing people group by people group. Like here's the start of the cancer. We're going to wipe that out right now. Here's the start of the cancer again. We're going to wipe that out right now. And he did so using Israel as his mechanism of judgment, mechanism of purification to do that, because he wasn't going to let that type of sin and that type of culture progress to the point where it had infected everybody, all of humanity again. And so that's what we see in the Old Testament, is not God hating people or advocating genocide. He was addressing the progress of sin, the advancement of sin. And and at the same time, you also see God's mercy and his grace, because even though he focused his attention on the evil that these Canaanites were doing, oftentimes there were entire groups of those that escaped judgment because they allied with Israel and wanted to become partakers in this promise that God had made with his people. A couple examples: when they first came to Jericho, Rahab already knew. People in Jericho already knew the reputation of Israel, that these people were going to come and wipe them out, and there's nothing we're going to do to stop them, and everybody was freaking out and was afraid. And Rahab made this interesting statement about Israel's God, like, I know you follow the one true God. And Rahab made a decision, not really knowing anything about this one true God, but she knew the reputation of his people, and so she just made the decision she's going to no longer follow in the traditions of the people around her in Jericho, other Amorites, and she's going to focus her attention on the God of Abraham and Isaac and Jacob. And we see that being the source of her salvation, her decision to turn away from that and ally with Israel. And then we even see once she does join Israel, she marries into the tribe of Judah, becomes one of the great grandmothers of Jesus. She was the mother-in-law of Ruth and Boaz. But not only that, but later in Joshua, they encounter a people named the Gibeonites. And when Israel was up on the mountains reading the law to each other, leaving a copy of the law in stone on one of the mountains, part of that law was it was a mechanism for outsiders to join them, whether it's the sojourner from a faraway place or someone who decides to buy in on this idea that they serve the true God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and all that stuff. And so the Gibeonites, they thought, well, let's disguise ourselves as people from a faraway place, and let's come to Israel and tell them we want to be your friends. We're from a faraway place, because we know that their law says, treat the traveler from a faraway place, treat them nicely, because they're not the enemies you're fighting. And so they did that, and we see Israel entering into this agreement with them without consulting God, and God holding them to this agreement. They were, God dealt with that immediate issue of, why do you keep doing things without consulting me first? But ultimately, it worked out good for the Gibeonites, because they ended up leaving the pagan practices of their land, and all of these other nations that got destroyed, the Gibeonites didn't. They ended up becoming friends and servants of Israel, ended up being incorporated into the practices of the upkeep of the tabernacle and later on the temple. They survived the Canaanite thrashing, I guess you could say. They survived that and became friends of Israel for generations to follow. And so even though God looked at the hedonistic culture and the pagan practices of the nations in Canaan, you still see him offering mercy and grace to people who wanted to leave that and join with him. And I think that's kind of cool, because we often are are given the are shown the criticism that God is just this old angry dude in the sky that wants to kill everybody, and that's not true. There's a sickness that comes with sin. It's a cancer that infects humanity, and whether it consumes us personally and physically, like it did with Freddie Mercury, or we allow that to keep going and consume all of humanity, something about sin is so infectious and contagious and spreads that it has to be rooted out, whether it's in our own life or whether it's in society as a whole. And that's what God was addressing, because he didn't want it to get to the point where all of humanity was infected and needed to be dealt with again, like in the flood. I just think that's kind of a cool perspective on it.
You know what that reminds me of? That whole story points to Jesus, just like everything does in the Bible. Even today, if you go to a church that's a Bible-loving, Bible-preaching church, you're going to hear that no matter what you've done, Jesus will forgive you.
Right.
No matter what's going on in the environment you were talking about, there was always an out, right? Jesus always gave an out. Join us, and you'll be spared. Kind of the same thing, right? I mean, Jesus always gives us an out to a sin, an alternative, perhaps.
Yeah.
So.
Well, the scary thing about that too is when you reject, like there's this other part in Joshua where it talks about the other Canaanite nations who chose over and over and over again to be the enemies of Israel and the enemies of God. It says that God hardened their hearts. And that's kind of a scary thing to think about, because they saw the truth, they were exposed to the truth, they had encountered God, and they chose to be an enemy of him. And so it's almost like God will give us not just the ability to choose to be for or against him, but if we choose to be against him, he'll harden our hearts and give us exactly what we want.
Man, that is scary.
And that is scary. And you can see it in the archaeological evidence too, because a lot of the sites over there are being dug up even as we speak. And you can see entire cities where there's this charred burn layer that dates to the same time period of this. There's an Egyptian city called Amarna, where there's like the administrative city of Egypt at one time, and there's all these clay tablets called the Amarna letters that are some of them are on display in, I think, the British Museum, but they're cuneiform, the clay tablets with cuneiform writing on them, and they're from the Canaanite kings sending requests down to Egypt, like there's this people group that's coming through and killing us all and driving us all out. Can you send reinforcements? And he called them the Hebrew, right?
Oh, okay.
And in Egypt, basically saying, we'd love to, but our army was recently decimated.
You may have heard.
Yeah, you may have heard. So we don't really have any reinforcements to give you.
Wow.
But you see this, even in the archaeology.
Yeah.
That it confirms what Scripture says, but it also confirms how God deals with this kind of stuff.
One of the things one of the many things I like about our Wednesday class, Josh, is that the way you use Google Earth and show us archaeology that backs up Scripture, right? It's so easy to digest whenever you're teaching us something about what the Bible says, and you bring us from. I love it when you zero in on Marcus Point Baptist Church at Google Earth, and you put the address in where we're going, and it backs up. It shows the earth, then goes over, and then it just zooms down into the scorched earth.
Yep.
It just sets it in your mind. That this real.
This place is as real as Marcus Point.
That's exactly right.
Where we're meeting.
Yep, that's exactly right. It used to be that if you would zoom in on Google Earth to Marcus Point, you would see my car parked there because I was there so much.
Yep.
You'd see my car parked there, and we'd zoom out and then go to Egypt. Thanks, Josh, for that.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Can you see my shirt, Chris, in the video? All right. Can you read it?
Well, the microphone's in the way.
Oh.
Life is better with a cat.
Life is better with a cat. And this is for all my wonderful, very masculine friends at Marcus Point that think that it's feminine to have a cat. How can I say this? I don't care.
I'm sure there's a story behind this that we don't have time for.
Donna got me this shirt. We give to the Humane Society, and they gave us an opportunity to have a couple of shirts. And I just love this. Life is better with a cat. Donna and I have had up to 5 cats at one point, and unfortunately, we've lost every one of them in the last couple of years, and we've gained one. So we have Bobby now. Bobby is our cat now.
He listens to our podcast.
He does. He's one of the ones that listens. He's one of the first ones that listens, or she's one of the first ones that listens. Anyway, so thank you, Donna, for the shirt. I appreciate it. I love you. I'm wearing this Sunday. Sunday is at Marcus Point. It's wear your colors. So you're supposed to wear your sports jerseys, to support your cat. This is going to be my jersey. And I'm going to stand up on stage and go, say something. No, I'm kidding. I'm not going to stand up on stage, but I will be wearing. These are my colors. This is my favorite team. So,
well, it's kind of funny because those of us who aren't like super into sports, it's kind of a funny day for us because
what's your shirt going to say?
Well, I have a shirt that says "Yay Sports, put the thing in the other thing." Because, I'm not really into sports either. But, I want to participate in kind of a humorous way.
Absolutely.
So this is kind of like what we do.
Yep, this is what we do.
Life is better with a cat. Yay, sports.
Yep, that's right. I've always been into sports that are a little off-center. Mountain biking, surfing, skateboarding, you know what I mean? And I've watched football with friends, and basketball. I'm a big basketball fan because I'm from North Carolina. But this is appropriate. I think this is appropriate.
Yep.
I'm glad you're going to wear yours. So anyway, Josh, thank you.
Yep.
Chris, thank you. Appreciate you very much. Donna, I love you. And we will see everybody next week. Thanks. Bye.